Hey everybody, welcome back. We're doing another Kindle sample today. We are whittling down the Kindle list, which will then be whittled up later on, because that's how it works. Our book today from the Great Random List is this one. It is Babel-17 by Samuel R. Delany. It is a kind of a bit of classic sci-fi. The cover doesn't give me very much. The SF Masterworks cover seems to be, there's big old buildings, there's a couple of moons, there's rockets, there's a lady with a hat. I don't know what this book is about. I have no idea what this book is about. Judging by the title, Babel, I'm going to guess something to do with language, because that's usually how that works. That is when people want to write about language, they will reference the Tower of Babel, or Babel, whatever you want. Still, that's all I can really glean from just the cover of this. I know that Delany is a well-regarded classic sci-fi author, so this is a book that's got legs. It's got to be good, I hope. So let's find out. I will read the sample, and I will tell you what I think in a minute. All right, stick around. Okay, I was right. Language, right? That's a giveaway. You put Babel in the title, and it's going to be about language. So it starts with an interesting epigraph by an Italian. I looked this up. An Italian-American linguist, polyglot person interested in language. So Mario Pei, who says, "Nowhere is civilization so perfectly mirrored as in speech. If our knowledge of speech, or the speech itself, is not yet perfect, neither is civilization." And I find that really interesting, that connection between language and civilization, right? Although I don't know what it means to perfect speech. Language is kind of by its nature an ever-evolving and ever-changing thing, right? Language always changes. It can't stay the same. Whether you like it or not. I mean, there's some things in language in English that are changing that I don't like. I still bristle when people use literally to mean figuratively, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that, except to continue to use literally to mean literally, and I'm going to use it the way I think is right and try to add a little bit more to what I think should be the winning side. But that's not my point. My point is, I find Pei's idea to be interesting, but it's maybe more about the imperfectibility of civilization, because language can't be civil and can't be perfect, and therefore neither can civilization be perfect. So I don't know, but it does kind of set the tone, right? The epigraph of a book, if the writer has chosen to include that in their book, is kind of telling you right up front one of the main ideas or one of the main sort of points of view that they're trying to address in their text. And so clearly what Delany is looking at is the perfectibility of language and the relationship between language and society, language and civilization. So that's going to be a big thing throughout this book, is my understanding of that. So the book starts with a poet named Rydra Wrong, and the book begins with actually a poem of hers that is quite evocative. It's a little long. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but the first few lines maybe are useful. "Here is the hub of ambiguity. Electric spectra splash across the street. Equivocation knots the shadowed features of boys who are not boys. A quirk of darkness shrivels a full mouth to senility, or pares it to a razor edge, pours acid across an amber cheek, fingers a crotch, or smashes in the pelvic arch, and wells a dark clot oozing on a chest dispelled with motion, or a flare of light that swells the lips and dribbles them with blood." Damn. All right. This feels real cyberpunk to me. And I know that very often the sort of origin of cyberpunk is usually given to William Gibson. I'm beginning to suspect Delany might have had a bit of a jump on him. But yeah, so Wong is a poet, and she starts with a poem. And one of the things I like in reading the book is it seems like that for Delany in writing this has given every noun an adjective. He is determined, I guess, that if this book is going to be about language, that he's really going to pull out all the stops with his language. It's not overwritten and overwrought so that it's unreadable, but I think that he really made a conscious decision that he's going to describe things. There's going to be adjectives everywhere, adverbs everywhere. It's going to be sort of a beautiful text, I think, is what I read. But Wong is trying to help with a little government project, trying to understand and interpret something they're calling Babel-17, which they received or they got from some transmissions that they recorded before there were some terrorist attacks, right? These explosions happened, and they recorded this strange language, they think. They weren't sure if it's a language or a cipher or a code that the terrorists were using, and they want her, because she has sort of a perfect understanding, or not a perfect understanding, but an excellent understanding of language, given to her to try to figure out. And she's the one who figured out that this stuff that they recorded is not a cipher or a code, which are two different things, but is indeed a language. And they're trying to enlist her help into kind of figuring out what that language is. And what's neat about Rydra is that she is, in addition to being an excellent linguist and poet, she's also amazingly good at body language and face reading. So after she meets with the general, we reveal, or the story reveals, what she got from just watching him, right? Knowing when he lied, knowing when she caught him with something he didn't know. And she is very, very good at reading other people. So I am looking forward to the rest of the book, where we see her trying to navigate this new language and trying to understand this new language, but kind of working in opposition to, maybe in opposition to, or with the needs of a military force, a general who's trying to stop these terrorist attacks, who's trying to find out who's behind all of these bombings. And so we're going to have our classic conflict between the sort of the intellectual, educated linguist and the military, who would be perfectly happy to wipe out, I'm sure, every native speaker of Babel-17. But I'm sure she will discover whatever is the unique aspect of Babel-17 that makes it so useful to its speakers. It is a short sample. It really is. I mean, basically all we know from it is that they're trying to understand Babel-17. We are trying to understand its relationship to these sort of terrorist sabotage events. Rydra is kind of terrified of her own ability, which I find interesting. She's really scared that she is able to understand people as well as she can. And she seems really unsure of herself in a lot of ways. So watching her evolve beyond that might be fun and interesting. So as an English teacher and a fan of language, I think this might be right up my alley, right? To see what language is and see how a good writer can play with what language is and what language does and what the potential for language might be good fun. And, it's science fiction. Anything is possible. So we'll see. So yeah, short sample, short video, but that's fine. Is this on my list? Yes, it's on my list, my ever-growing list. I will definitely want to check this one out. So that is it for now. If you've read Babel-17, if you want to tell me what your thoughts are so far, if you've got any thoughts about the relationship between language and civilization, or language and culture, I'd love to hear it as well. Put them in the comments and we'll get a conversation going. But in the meantime, thanks for coming around as always, and I will see you in the next video. All right? Stay well.